back with Game 3 of Southern Assault. This will be Orcs and Goblins versus Lizardmen. This scenario will be Blood and Glory. The special rules for this Blood and Glory is that you don't automatically lose if you break. Instead, the first person that breaks their opponent gets 800 victory points, and the second person that breaks their opponent will get 300 victory points. Now let's have another quick look at my list. Since I'm playing against Lizardmen, I have to worry about when I should use my staff and my spell scroll against his magic. Also, since it's Blood and Glory, I need to know, well, I figure I need to separate my Black Orc, Big Boss, BSB, and my General. But comp-wise, we're both comp 9, so we're fairly comped. Now let's look at my opponent's Lizardman list. The first thing you'll notice, he has Lower Beast on his line instead of, he doesn't have the big three like his, Life, Light, and Death. But I think Lower Beast still, it really synergizes well with Saurus and the rest of the Lizardman army. He still has two of the big three as far as, slan abilities. He's still got Take Away My Sixes, and he gets the extra dice. Now, this is interesting. He has 4 Scar Vets, but only 1 on a cold one. Instead, he's going to have 3 Scar Vets he's going to put in his Temple Guard unit. 2 of them have Always Strikes First. So this is going to make those Temple Guard really scary, and I really don't have anything that can really go toe-to-toe with them. So I basically got to hope that I can really Footogork them and hurt them a lot before I fight against them. And then he just has, backing it up, he's got 28 Saurus, Skinks with Crocs Gores, and he also has 3 Pterodons and an Ancient Stegodon. And this Ancient Stegodon, a lot of people don't use it, but it's something I'm worried about because he's got 3 infantry blocks in a monster. I've only got 2 infantry blocks in a monster with War Machines. So that Ancient Stegodon is something I have to worry about. Now we have some looks at the deployment. You can notice I'm still having a little hangover from my first game of worrying about my big guns running off the board easily. And since this is Blood and Gore and you go up to 15 inches up, I fully deploy up even though I don't want to fight so fast. But I just deployed up because I'm worried about something happening to make me flee off the table right off the start. And even here I'm 8 deep, so a 7 would get me off the table right now, barring enough casualties to make it an 8. Also, I tried to deploy a little bit defensively around this hill. But mostly what you'll notice is I'm spread across almost the entire table while he's really packed into the center. I do wish I had some really fast things that I could put on the flanks other than my Arachnarok to come around on his flanks, but I really don't have any heavy hitters. We just don't really have the monster cavalry like a lot of other people do, and the Ragnarok really isn't good enough by itself. Although this time my level 1 has the Hand of Gorg instead of the Foot of Gorg. So I can try to, move them, some things with the Hand of Gorg onto the flanks. I do wish he had Foot of Gorg instead, but my level 4 has it. This is Lizardman turn 1. I apologize for this picture. I don't know what the shadows are coming from in some of these pictures. I guess it's because it's kind of getting later in the afternoon, maybe. I don't know. I didn't have a picture of my vanguards, but I really only vanguarded on the right of my walls, which you can see just at the edge of their movement tray above the Ragnarok. I moved them so they would have a charge on the Skinks there. I didn't vanguard my Wolf Riders on the right because I already had a charge on his Chameleon Skinks from where he was placing them, so I didn't want to somehow win turn 1 and then ruin my chances at charging his Chameleon Skinks. So going to his turn 1, basically he just moves up the Skinks and he moves up his center a bit. He moves it up pretty good because I know he wants to go ahead and get in combat with me. Otherwise his Pterodons fly over my Mangler there, drop rocks and then land back in front of it, and by dropping rocks they're able to kill my Mangler. I really can't remember what he does in magic. In shooting, his Chameleons shoot at the Wolf Riders in front of them, but they only kill 1. And I think he has no other shooting. I don't think his Skinks on the right don't shoot any of my Wolf Riders. They don't do any damage to my Wolf Riders on the left, but I don't think they're even in range to shoot them. So I don't actually think they even shot at them. I just think that, just in case they did shoot at them, they didn't do any damage. Now I have Orcs and Goblins turn 1. And I need to mention my BSB is really attached to that unit of Goblins that has my level 1. Just the way he's magnetized, he keeps moving along with those big uns. And I need to mention this because this was very irritating for me as my biggins failed animosity and were forced to charge the skinks in front of them. I didn't want them to charge, and since I didn't have my BSB in with them because I was worried about blowing glory, I couldn't attack my unit and still be able to do what I wanted to do. So I'm forced to charge those skinks. And it's of course a failed charge, but it moves me up 3 or 4 inches closer to his temple guard, so now he can charge me in turn 2. And also my little troll unit failed stupidity with the reroll, so they don't do anything. I think they move up 1 inch forward. Otherwise, my both my Wolfrider units charge. My Wolfriders on the left charge the skinks, and it was too close for him to stand and shoot, and he just holds. His chameleon skinks on the right flee from my Wolfriders, and I fail the charge. I decide not to try to redirect into that Stegadon because I know I'm going to die, and I just figure if he charges my Wolfriders, I'll try to flee. Going into regular movements and stuff, first my Mangler goes through those Pterodons that I have left, and it destroys the Pterodons. Going to my shooting, I have a Doom Diver land right on his Scarvets on the cold one and kills it. Otherwise, I really have not much else that happens. I shoot a lot of things that are Spirit Chuckers at his Stegodon, and I do no damage to it. When we go into Magic, again, I try to hand a Gork my Mangler to try to get it up there because I know it's going to be moving randomly. He stops that, and I try to foot a Gork, but I know he dispels that as well. And when we go into combat, even though my Wolfrider is charged in, he kills 2 of my wolves before I can attack. My Wolfriders, I lose 3 of them to skink before I even get to strike. I do kill 2 skinks in return, so it's a 3-3 tie. But I was really expecting to go in there and mop up those skinks. And so that's only combat, and you can see here that I have my gigantic spotter moved around on the flank, so I'm hoping it can go in there later and mop up. And going in Lizardmen 2, what I was afraid of happens. He charges his Temple Guard at my biggins, and he's able to make the charge. I mean, I had to hold. I was only about, I'm thinking back in my unit, was only about maybe 9 or 10 inches from the table edge. I mean, I might have stayed on the table, but it was just too risky. Otherwise, he doesn't have any on the charges. He just moves up the rest of his units. We go into his magic, and this is bad. First, I forgot, I did get Fist of Gork off on my Savage Orc Great Shaman last turn. But on his turn, he gets the -1 to hit spell off on my biggins, and he gets Savage Beast off on his Temple Guard. I'm able to stop the Wild Form, and there's another spell that I was worried about that I was able to stop, but he got 2 of the, no, I stopped 1 out of his 3 spells. I only stopped the Wild Form. He got the other 2 that I was worried about. So when we go into shooting, he tries to kill my Mangler with some shooting, and he doesn't. He does some shots at my trolls and does no damage. And other than that, I think he has no other shooting. Going into combat, he's able to kill my Wolfriders that are fighting his skinks. So those Wolfriders just do not do their job at all. But we're going to the big combat. Here's where it gets interesting tactically. He's got 3 Scarvets in this unit. So I need to keep them all from just being able to tear up my biggins. So I issue a challenge with my Great Shaman. So I figure I have Fist of Gork and a 4+ ward. I know that if he declines it, I can just send one of his guys back. So he just accepts it with his Scarvet that doesn't have Always Strikes First. So now when we fight this combat, when we do the challenge first, he's able, with the Savage Beast, he's able to still get 1 wound on my Great Shaman. But when I strike back, I'm able to do 2 wounds to a Scarvet and kill it. I only get the 2 wounds, so I have no overkill there. Because I'm, even with 5 attacks, and I'm -1 to hit, even with my Fencer's Blades, I still have to hit him on 4s instead of 3s. But I'm able to kill 1 Scarvet at least. His other 2 Scarvets, with 14 attacks total, they tear into my biggins. On my biggins, they kill a few Temple Guard. His Temple Guard kill a few biggins. It's still pretty bad, but at least I'm steadfast, barely, and I'm able to hold on with my 9 with a reroll and stick into the fight. We're on Orc and Goblin turn 2 now, and of course my little troll unit failed stupidity again with the reroll, and I can't charge them at the Croxagore Skinks. I was going to charge them and my Ragnarok in there. So now, since I can't charge the trolls in there, I know if I charge my Ragnarok in, it's going to take up most of the space. I won't be able to support later with my little troll unit, so I don't charge there at all. I do charge my Gigantic Spider, his Skinks, that had killed my Wolf Riders. And I charge my trolls at the Skinks that were trying to block them from supporting the Temple Guard fight. Otherwise, my Mangler goes through his Saurus unit, and I think it does almost no damage. I might kill 2 or 3 Saurus. So, we go into Magic. Not able to spell his 2 spells because they're not remains in play. I can't get Air We Go off on my unit. I don't think I even have much else to do. I think I try to hand a Gork my Ragnarok to get it more to his flank, but I'm not able to do that. So we just go into shooting. Again, I don't do much in shooting. I shoot at his Stegodon. I think I do 1 or 2 wounds to it with my Spirit Chuckers. I think one of my Doom Divers, it might have blown up, but otherwise I have not much for shooting. Now we're going into combat again, and this is where all the heaviest thinking goes. I issue a challenge again with my Great Shaman. I have to try to get those Scarvets out. He answers with one of his Always Strikes First Scarvets. This Scarvet does 1 more wound to my Great Shaman, so I'm down to 1 wound, but I'm able to kill this Scarvet with my Great Shaman, so I've killed 2 of the 3 Scarvets. And so when we go into the rest of the combat, he only has 1 Scarvet left to fight him against my unit. That's not as bad. I'm able to do a few more wounds. I still barely stay steadfast. I hold again for another turn. And a quick mention that my Gigantic Spider guy is able to take care of those Skinks. So now we're going to Lizardmen turn 3. He charges his Crossgore Skinks at my little troll unit. He charges his Saurus at my big trolls, and also his Stegodon into the flank of my big trolls. So they're in trouble. Otherwise, we go into Magic. So hopefully, thankfully, Savage Beast and the -1 to hit spell go away. I have to worry about him casting all 3 of these things again. This time I use my scroll on Savage Beast. I have to use my staff on what is it? The -1 to hit spell. But he's able to get Walled Form off, so I can't stop all 3, but I stopped 2, so that's better than before. And he forgets to dispel Fist of Gork. He kept thinking that it was going to go away. He didn't realize it was remains in play, even though I'd given him my cards, but he just didn't pay attention that it said remains in play. Before the game, I'd given him my cards to look at. So when we go into shooting, he really has no shooting. So then we go into combat, and he doesn't really do much damage to my little troll unit, but he still breaks them. And he decides not to pursue me because he knows he's going to be getting charged by me, so instead he just, my Ragnarok, so he just reforms to face their Ragnarok, so I'll be going to his front and not his flank. So, but then the bad thing is my trolls just get obliterated by his Saurus and his Stegodon. I really do almost no damage at all. I think I killed 2 or 3 Saurus, and I don't do any wounds to his Stegodon. So then he wipes out my trolls in pursuit, and his Stegodon pursues into my Wolf Rider unit. So then, the main event is next. Okay, so here we go. He challenges first because it's his turn. I didn't want my Great Shaman to be in a challenge this time because he's down to 1 wound. He challenges with his Slan. I think he was hoping I wanted my Great Shaman to be in a challenge again. I feel I need my Great Shaman to fight Temple Guard now because I need to stay steadfast. I'm still barely staying steadfast. So I answer with my champion for his Slam. So then, we kill a few guys back and forth. The difference is that I have my big boss and my Great Shaman that I fight against his guys versus just his 1 Scarvet. So I'm still able to stay steadfast even though I lose my champion to the challenge to this land. But I stay steadfast, and that's what's important. Now, unfortunately, it looks like I'm missing some pictures down towards the end. I don't have Orc and Goblin turn 3. Looks like this is Lizardmen turn 4. So let me do a quick recap of what I did in my third turn. As you can probably notice, I charged my Ragnarok and my Gigantic Spider into his Skink Crossgore unit. I rallied my little trolls, and otherwise I moved my BSB into the Archer unit, and I wasn't able to get my level 1 Shaman all the way there because where he was moving from. So he's just behind my Biggin unit. So then in my third turn, I'm able to win the combat against this Crossgore Skinks. I think he does a couple wounds to my Ragnarok, but he holds from being steadfast. He wipes out my Wolf Riders and then reforms to face the flank of my Biggin unit. And otherwise, I'm still able to stay steadfast with my challenges here and everything. So I hold again. So now we're going to Lizardmen turn 4. And so as you can see in his turn 4, he charges his Stegodon into the flank of my Biggin unit, which is really bad. Otherwise, in his magic, I think he just gets wild form back on his units. I don't let him get Savage Beast or the -1 to hit. And so when we go into the combats here, I mean, there's not much fighting now. There's not much damage being done back and forth. So I'm just still barely staying steadfast. In both cases, not much really happens on his turn 4. But the big news will be in the following turns. Again, I need to apologize for missing pictures. This is the last picture I have, and it looks like this is the top of Lizardmen turn 5. So I need to recap what happens in Orcs and Goblins turn 4. It looks like I just forget to charge my trolls in, or either they fail stupidity again. Otherwise, basically, I'm able to barely hold on again for that turn in Orcs and Goblins turn 4. But when we go into turn 5, by this point, I've lost so many orcs that I'm down to just my champion and standard bearer. I'm not steadfast anymore, so now I break. I roll either 6 or 7 to get away. He rolls, I think, a 5 with his Temple Guard unit, which just has a standard bearer, a Scarvet, and a Slan. And then he rolls double 2s for his Stegodon, so I'm able to get away. And this is the top of Lizardmen turn 5. Also in that turn, he dispelled my Fist of Gork, which is part of the reason why I was able to wipe out his Temple Guard unit. So I'm barely able to get away. I do make a huge mistake here, which I'm about to explain. Okay, I thought that you took banners out last before champions. So when we get into combat, I have my banner and champion left. So I take my champion out as the last casualty, and so then when I break, I lose my standard. But I should have took my banner out as my last casualty, and then I should have broke with my champion. So in retrospect, that would have saved me 450 some points in victory points, but I wouldn't have been able to rally, even though we're about to end the game anyway. And so I think I need to roll. I was like 11 inches from the table edge, so I need to roll a 12 to go off the table edge. But basically, if we had played another turn anyway, I was going to get wiped out. So I should have probably had my champion there and not my banner. So instead, I given him all those points. So then, going into the final turn, which is the bottom of turn 5, which I don't have a picture for, I charge my trolls into the Crossgores there. I rallied my characters. I thought I could rally them. I didn't realize my champion should have still been there, not my banner should have been the last model there that died when I fled. So the only other things happened at the bottom of my turn is, and this is actually really important, I shoot a Doom Diver onto his Temple Guard unit. I do 4 hits. He puts 2 on the Slan and 1 on each of the remaining 2 models. I kill his last Temple Guard, so I get all those points. I do 1 wound to his Scarvet, and I do no wounds to his Slam. So then I have my 3 Chukkas, 2 shooting at the front, both miss. I have 1 shooting at the flank, Now, without any cover save, I just need a 4 to hit the flank and hit that Scarvet. So we go ahead and roll to see what's going to happen before we to get a roll on whether he gets cover or not. I roll the 4 to hit. I roll to wound. He has no save. I kill him. So then we need to find out, does he get a cover save from that Stegodon or not. I don't think he does. He thinks he gets a cover save. So we get Once Bitten to come in, and he looks at it and he says, he's not getting any cover save because it's going by the Sline and not by the Scarvet. So since it's that tusk on that Stegodon is not covering up half the Sline, I can see the unit, so I do kill the Scarvet. So basically that's how the game ends. And otherwise my Ragnarok, I get down to where he only has the one Kroxigor left in his unit. He kills his one Kroxigor, kills my gigantic spider guy, but he still needs double ones to not flee. And he rolls a double one, so he gets revenge back to me. And so I don't take out that last Kroxigor skink unit, even though I got the banner for it. And I really want to apologize for not having pictures shared for the end of this. I thought about just skipping this game because it was so incomplete, but it was such a fun game that, and there's so much strategy going back and forth with fighting those Scarvets that I really did want to include it. And like I said, I did make the mistake with that last Biggin should have been in a unit, should have been my champion. I mean, that really wouldn't have changed much. If we had played another turn, I wouldn't have been able to rally. I would have been off the table. And that would have made it where he would have won. I think it would have been 12-8 if I had that Biggin left, but instead it ends at 11-9 in favor of me. But if we had played the last turn, he definitely would have won. So really, I'm not going to worry about losing the Biggin points because if we played another turn, if I hadn't fell off the table, his Stegodon was going to kill me. And it would have swung from me being ahead to, he probably would have been ahead 12-8. So we come to the end of another battle report. I'd like to thank everybody for listening, and I do apologize for some of the missing pictures. Basically, my only excuse is that we were really running out of time the last turn and a half or so, and I just didn't think about taking pictures when we were so short on time there. But feel free to comment and like and subscribe if you'd like to. And I'll see you guys next time. I'll be having a good old another revenge match against my vampire opponent that's already been in 2 of my battle reports. I'll see you guys then.